Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see this time we are going to talk about a kit from Miniart. It comes in a 1/35 scale and it copies American truck from World War II. It's a G7107 1.45 ton 4x4 cargo truck with a wooden body this time, and of course we have a commercial sample here, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you will see in this video review, and it will be interesting to check what is actually new in this release. So kit number is 35386. As I mentioned, it comes in a 1/35 scale. I'm honestly interested if there are also figures. Yeah, there it's written that we have truck and 2 figures included, and you can notice that box art is quite nice. Box size is typical for this brand. Here you can see comparison with my hand, and if I flip it over here you'll find also some information about manufacturer, safety advices and barcode, while on the opposite side we can see 5 marking options which are included here. Obviously we will check them a bit closer or a bit more detailed way when we will be taking a look at the marking guides in the assembly manual. So this is a top opening box as you saw, and all sprues are packed into the same plastic bag. So it's a sealed plastic bag, and I will have to cut through in order to open it, so you can hear it, the plastic bag itself. And maybe in the meantime I can also remind you that you can support us with a small donation. It's quite easy thing to do because you can do it via PayPal or here directly in the YouTube. So in case you would like to help us to get some new kits, or maybe to let's say acquire some new equipment in order to improve the quality, then definitely we will be happy to get some support from you. And as usual with Miniart kits, this one gets 2 plastic bags which are sealed one to each other, so that's why it's taken so much time. And many modders are asking why I'm not cutting through this, because I want to show you the real experience, that there is nothing, let's say, exchanged or replaced during the opening process, and then that all the parts are actually from the plastic bag, not from something else. Okay, so just one more tier and we will be done. It's really cumbersome, and I'm not a huge fan of packing everything into one plastic bag. It's really weird, and I'm not sure why Miniart still continues such thing. So first of all, we are going to start with envelope, which features the PE elements here. So just give me a second to take it out. And this is an unpainted PE thread with Miniart logo, so it will be handy for some fine features on your truck. And I would recommend to use all these parts because they will add some features which are not replicated in plastic, and you cannot replicate them in plastic. So that's why Miniart actually supplies it in a standard package. And this is really cool because you don't have to go for aftermarket in order to get this stuff. Next we continue with the first gray plastic sprue. So this one is dedicated to figures, and actually one figure. So here you can see one soldier, and I would say parts division or overall design is typical for this scale. So we have separate legs, hands and one piece torso. Maybe I can bring it closer so that you can see what we have here on the facial features. It's a typical figure from Miniart, so there is nothing to complain about. Obviously there are no guiding elements inside, so you have to be careful while combining all this stuff, but other than that there is nothing to complain about. Next we have another figure here. So obviously all poses are predefined. As you can see, this one is seated just like on the box art. And again, if I flip it over here on the opposite side, we do not have any guiding elements whatsoever. Next we continue with the wheels sprue, and I have to note that this is really impressive what Miniart did here, because if you take a closer look you will notice that we have some external features here copied. So basically you get a really nice molding quality out of the box. You don't have to resort to the aftermarket in case you are fine obviously with such features, and in my opinion this is more than enough for out of the box build. You get features on the tire walls, you get really nice tires, and also it will be relatively easy to paint these things, so there is nothing to complain about. And if I flip it over, here inside you can see these parts from the opposite side. Okay. Next, there is a separate plastic bag which I opened in the meantime. So we have clear sprue here. These are all clear parts for the front cap. Maybe I'll bring it closer so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Molding quality looks really nice, but as usual, Miniart does not supply any templates for masks, so you have to cut them by yourself. And then we have also decals sheet, so maybe I'll bring it closer like this. You can see we have all the white writings for 5 marking options, as you remember. And printing quality seems to be really nice, so it's just a matter of careful application on your model and you'll be good to go. Okay. Next we continue with another gray plastic sprue. So this one is dedicated to the rear body parts. So as you can see, these are wooden panels. This is actually a 4 panel, and as you can see, we do not have any wooden texture here, but we have these parts. These are sidewalls molded as a single piece parts, and that's really cool because it will make it easier to get the right alignment. And of course, if you just carefully separate it off the frame, then you're good to go to install it straight away. You don't have to waste your time trying to align separate bars together. So this is really smart design, and it should influence the overall speed and experience of the building process, so I definitely like it. Next we continue with parts for the engine. So just like any other kit from Miniart, this one includes the nicely detailed engine, and this is not just a, let's say, bare power plant. We have all the pipings and even some wirings in some cases, I think here also as well. So it would be a wise idea to think how to expose it, because it's really a shame to hide it under the bonnet and then just to forget it. I know some modelers actually do it, and this is really weird in my opinion, because such details, they deserve to be out on the model. Next sprue is supplied in 2 pieces, so here we have all the necessary parts for the rear section, and these are actually 2 mud guards. So again, molding quality seems to be nice, and the size of these parts does not influence on the quality. So here you can see comparison with my fingertip, they're really tiny. So do not underestimate, let's say, the overall look of this kit, because actually these are really small elements which are molded nicely out of the box and ready to be assembled straight away. Next we continue with 3 sprues for these special frames on the rear section of the truck. So they're quite thin, so it would be a wise idea to use a plastic sole, but other than that I do not have anything to comment here, because this is really cool to get them here in the package in form of the plastic parts. Some manufacturers like to do it as a PE parts. I'm not sure if it would be actually working here due to the thickness, and obviously if you would like to get even more I would say special look, then go for a tarpaulin which will be stretched over these bars. Next we have chassis bars, so these ones are supplied as a single piece elements, and overall molding quality looks to be nice again. So I can see that we have some guiding elements here, guiding pins, which will help you to assemble all the stuff without any unnecessary actions. And believe me, it will require some, let's say, attention, because you have to combine all the bars together and you have to get the right alignment, because later you will be placing all other parts on this one, obviously. Next we continue with 2 sprues which are dedicated also to the rear section. So as you can see, these again are wooden panels, but we do not have any wooden texture whatsoever. So this is something to consider. Maybe you can play with the weathering here, maybe you can just let's say scratch it or maybe sand it. It's up to you. Next we continue with parts for the front suspension. So here again we have leaf springs. We also have various arms which will be used for the front wheel axle. Overall it looks nice, so it's just a matter of careful installation. The same goes for these jerry cans. So these jerry cans are supplied as a nice addition for this kit. As you can see, there are 2 of them, because each one should be assembled out of 2 hulls, obviously. But that's really cool that we get them in a standard package. You don't have to search for some aftermarket which will be placed on the truck. Here we have various thin parts for this model. This sprue is actually supplied in 2 pieces, as you can see. They're absolutely identical. Next, we continue with another plastic sprue, so just give me a second. Here we have also more parts for the rear section. So again, these are large panels, but from the other point of view, it's really good that they're coming as a large single piece parts, so it will be easier to install them on your model. Okay, next we continue with buckets, and yes, there are buckets supplied in the standard package. So these two are actually handy to be placed in the truck. As you can see, this is a typical Miniart accessory, and of course the handles will be replicated with the PE parts. Next we continue with the interior elements. So I hope you follow the amount of the small sprues, and that's what kinda surprising always with the Miniart kits, because you can easily lose one of these small frames and then you won't be able to assemble your model. But as you saw, the interior parts, they look really nice. So the same applies to... oh, okay. Just give me a second. So the same applies to these bulkheads. Nothing special here. Why I was surprised, because actually these bulkheads, due to the tight packaging, these bulkheads, they actually broke the pillars of the front cap, so that's not really cool. You can fix it, but that's why I always suggest to pack all the parts separately, not to use the tight packaging, because as you can see, this can happen. It is fixable again, but it might be a thing to work on. So here inside we also have some push marks on the roof panel, but I guess it will be easily fixed by professional modelers, and of course it's something to fix if you plan to open the front cap on your model. Next we continue with separate doors, a steering wheel and front wall for the front cap. Obviously we also have these subframes which will be used for the front assembly as well. As you can see, the windscreen frame is molded as separate parts, so it might be handy if you would like to flip it open. As you remember, this truck had such option. And next, last but not the least, is this large sprue with mix of various parts. So maybe here we should zoom in, because here we have the spare wheel, we have also the separate bonnet, fuel tank, radiator grille. Here we continue with bonnet panels and also fenders, which will be installed obviously around the front bonnet. And note that there are several versions of these elements. Next we see the wheel axles, leaf springs, and some other stuff which will be used for technical items or connections on this truck. But amount of thin parts is also quite surprising, so that's why I'm always saying do not hurry with Miniart kits. It's better to be safe when you are working with such thin parts. Next we continue with assembly manual. So this one comes in form of a color printed brochure, and I just closed the lenses. So kit number is 35386. We do not have parts count anymore, and here we start with the marking guide. So there are 2 marking options you can see here. Parts map, as usual, they do not show unused parts, so that's why it's better to pay attention on what you have to install here and there. And by the way, I can see that there should be some chain, but I did not see it in the... oh, okay, so with the chain, it was quite funny because it was sticked in the corner of the envelope for the PE parts. But chain is here, do not worry. So it will be used also on the truck, and that's also another nice addition from Miniart. So as I was saying before, assembly process starts with the main chassis. You have to combine all these bars together, and you have to start using PE parts. As you can see, they will be bent around special templates. So it's good, but again, it will be a bit surprising for some beginner modelers, but still it's a smart design for a 1/35 scale kit. Next we continue with wheel axles. I can see also that we assemble the stowage boxes. We assemble the brake drums, fuel tank, and then we start working on the engine, which will be obviously installed in the front section. Next we continue with the front cap. So here we have to use So you don't have to send the push marks inside because we have the roof panel molded separately. It will be inserted into the part. So quite an interesting design. Note that you can also assemble the front door with a winded down front windows or side windows, which is also quite cool because it's one of the assembly options, and the more we have the better. Next we start assembling the steering column, various pedals, controls, and here the same applies to the another front door, so both doors can have the wind down screen or window. I'm just trying to understand what is here. So here we can also open both doors, and of course you can also open the windscreen just like on the Rio truck. So that's another marking or assembly option. Here you can see these variants. Next we start assembling the front grille. So front grille here is actually built from PE parts, so be ready for this. And of course we can also open the bonnet so that you will be able to expose the engine underneath, so that's something to remember in my opinion. And then we start working on the rear bed. So this one is also assembled out of several parts. There are many tiny PE bits installed here and there, so be ready for this. And of course the chain, it will be used also here, and you can assemble it in an open position or closed position. And of course you can also install these frames in case you would like to. And do not forget, I also mentioned that you can stretch the tarpaulin over this one. There is a separate marking guide for miniatures. We have 2 more marking options here. This is a winter truck, and here is another one. So 5 marking options in total. Overall, this is a quite impressive kit in 1/35 scale. In my opinion, the finished result out of the box should look really nice. And of course it will require some patience, but you will be rewarded with a good looking truck. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.